And it would help if my microphone wasn't muted. I had my microphone muted. So I think now we're live. If you can't tell by the thumbnail or the title, this is going to be an interesting one. First for me. I am going to go a little bit off topic. Not exactly going to be talking about not going to be talking about my usual Dungeons and Dragons thing. I'm going to be talking about a Batman comic that I read and had some interesting story elements, some juicy materials that could be talked about. Story is called Batman the Cult, written, or I should say published in 1988 by Jim Starlin, Bernie Wrightston, and Bill Wray. They're the writer, the illustrator, colorist, and yeah, it's a pretty good. I'm going to check on my guest here. I have a friend of mine who I have a guest who I plan to have on here. And checking him. Okay, he needs a link. So I'm going to get him in here. Oh, okay. All right. I see you, Niraj. How's it going, buddy? All right. Send him a thing. Another one of my friends, he wants a link. I'm not getting him a link to he's not going to be on. Bring him on at another time. This isn't a particular topic I think he would enjoy. This is a Batman. He's not a big Batman guy. Oh, this is good. An interesting aside to your topic today. Deacon Blackfire's mission is on the East Gotham map of DCUO. Yeah. As you read DC Comics, you find a lot of the East End is where a lot of crime happens in Gotham. I mean, there is some stuff that happens in the Southern End. We have Z Wolf in the chat. There's Z Wolf. Thank you for stopping by, Z Wolf. I'll actually take an opportunity. If you guys haven't seen, Z Wolf is producing a movie. He's got his little movie. I'll link this in the chat because he's a good guy. His little Twitter post. Check that out. But yeah, so as I was saying, a lot of the crime that happens in Gotham, organized crime, takes place in the East End. I'm recalling the No Man's Land map of Gotham City and the layout. The amusement miles in the north. That's typically where you have things like the Joker's. Joker usually sets up his stuff. Then you also have some like street gangs up there. In the southern part, like near the Gotham Center City, you have Joker and Two-Face, who are typically around the, not quite City Hall, but I would say like a few blocks from City Hall. Then you have, which Penguin is in the east. Two-Face is typically in the central area of the southern island. And then you have in the west, in the southwest, you mainly have a bunch of like intermittent gangs like the Triads, and you have I don't recall if the Japanese are down there, but you have the Triads and you have the street demons who take place there. We got, yeah, the original development team for DCO actually was very true to the comic book versions of Gotham and Metropolis. So I can actually imagine the layout of the city from that. Yeah. They did the in the comics, they had some really good illustrations of them. Actually, maybe I could try to see if I have any of those images, because for my role plays, I've saved several images because they're just really helpful for understanding the layout of Gotham. So there's the No Man's Land. Let me pull that up there. I have a few of these, so I'm trying to that looks like the raw layout. I'm not going to do that one. And then, yeah, here you go. Oh, and there's my guest. Let me welcome the Bat Kid.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I was just teeing things up for you. I'm going to show this image, this map layout of Gotham.
Oh, in the background?
Something like that. I'm trying to figure out this streaming thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, what?
What's his link? Oh, I think Z-Wolf wants to join your thing.
What's it called? Oh, no, yeah, I gave him the YouTube. What's it called? As I've said, I don't think this is a topic he's going to be interested in, and I like to stay on topic. So.
Oh, well, I think I sent it to him just now. You want me to delete it?
Yeah, I would. I mean, if he wants to sit backstage, I'm not going to let him on.
Ouch.
Okay, yeah. All right, cool, Z.
Yeah, if he wants to sit backstage, then you could just let him be there. That's fine with me.
Okay, let me. Here we are. Share window.
So you read Batman the Cult?
Yes.
That panel you sent me, the dude looked like a Native American like a priest.
Well, yes. Deacon Blackfire, his origin is that he is a Native American.
Is he religious?
Is he what?
Is he religious?
Well, let me get through his origin.
Okay.
So his origin is that he was from a tribe of Native Americans when very early on in the expansion of colonial territory. And so he was of his tribe. I don't want to mispronounce them, but it's like they were of the like Miagani tribe, which I believe there is a Miagani island in Batman. So that might be the reference that they're making there. But at any rate, so he was of the Miagani tribe. He had decided he was going to overthrow the tribe. And they had thwarted him. And their solution for him, they called him a shaman. Their solution for him was to chain him up and lock him in a cave. And to keep him bound, they made a totem with his face on it. And they inscribed on it, "Do not open or enter this cave. This cave is where the evil shaman is," right? And then when the Miagani went to leave the area because they're migrating, they got completely felled by another tribe. They got completely destroyed. So no one really knows about this cave. Then in 1601, when colonizers came over to Gotham, they split up, and some of them had found the carved tablet, if you would. I'm forgetting what they're called. But they found this carved ward, and they were like, okay, this is weird, but whatever. They moved it, and then they found the cave, and they thought the cave would be a great place as a storehouse to put things into. Well, what ended up happening was the shaman killed all of the colonizers of this first group.
Yeah.
There were two groups. One split off. The other went towards the Miyagani. The other went somewhere else. So anyway, the Deacon Blackfire killed all of these colonizers, found out that all of his people were killed, and his whole objective to them was to teach them the right of their wrongs. He was trying to educate them, enlighten them. All right. And what they find, or what you discover through the story, is, this is going to be a spoiler. I'm spoiling here. What you discover through the story is Deacon Blackfire is killing people. He's using the homeless of Gotham City to kill people, and he is then using the blood of the dead to bathe in it. And that is how he's been able to rejuvenate and keep himself young. Because Jim Gordon and both Batman and Jim Gordon both noted that Deacon Blackfire looks like he's in his 40s, but he has a rap sheet going back as far as 1912.
Damn.
So they're like, what is this? This doesn't make sense. Because and you learn throughout the story that Deacon Blackfire had tried various different schemes throughout his life. He had tried to do a bank robbery. He had tried to do what was something else he tried doing? He tried like a philanthropic endeavor. He had tried all these different things, and he kept failing at them. And that's because his goal and agenda was enlightenment, as he puts it. His agenda was to teach everyone the ideals of what he perceived was God.
Yeah.
And his plan is to basically create a movement, gain notoriety and fame from that movement. And from that movement, he then will die and become a martyr.
Right.
And his plan was to actually have Batman as one of his foot soldiers and have Batman fight for his cause. But then Batman breaks out of the brainwashing that he subjects Batman to. And when he breaks out of that brainwashing, he then becomes determined to stop Deacon Frost. Well, Deacon Blackfire, not Deacon Frost. That's the Blade guy. Deacon Blackfire. And they call him the Deacon in it. Everyone tends to refer to that as like his supervillain name.
Yeah.
But Batman as I said before stream, I'd said that that story takes on a very like Dark Knight Returns take.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to be like the nuclear option, because Batman goes riding in there in his basic battle tank. Basically, it's a battle tank that he rides in on, and he's firing rockets and missiles, and he's commenting. This is what I loved about it. This was great. He's commenting, like there's this one woman who sees Batman coming, and she goes racing to Batman for shelter. Well, in her race to get to Batman, several of Blackfire's hoodlums jump her and begin beating her senselessly. Well, Batman and Jason Todd's the Robin in this. They managed to take out the hoodlums, but they were too late to actually save her from the savage beating that she got.
Yeah.
And Batman is commenting to himself, we don't have time to save her. And that's the most painful part about this whole thing, is if we stop to save her, more people are going to get hurt and die. So, and he said some comment of, it takes her several minutes to die, and it felt like an eternity. And I love that. That was fantastic writing on behalf of Jim Starlin.
Yeah. Is Jim Starlin still alive, or is he dead?
I don't know. I can Google that though. Jim Starlin, DC.
Yeah, I'm reading Batman the Cult while you're talking, to give me an idea. Damn, the opening to this comic is really messed up, but I like it. I really do.
Oh yeah. The opening of it is fantastic because they start off with the premise of Batman getting brainwashed.
Yeah.
And it's amusing because Batman is familiar with brainwash tactics.
T-Bats, this was the internal stuff I was talking about when it came to Killing Joke. Like, I still love the Devil's Advocate, Joker's Devil's Advocate, but this type of story, this is like the Killing Joke. This is the type of story that's really going to get my creative interest flowing. Now, this seems really internal, really intense, and man, it's not a fight over the physical; it's a fight over the mental. And I don't know. I just really connect to this.
Yeah, to me, it's not like a connection thing. I liked a lot of the, like, there's some scenes in it where I'm sort of like it strikes me as just another rinse and repeat of breaking Batman down as a character. It's more deconstruction, which that's what I don't like about it. I don't like deconstruction. I think it's dumb.
I like both. I like both. I like deconstruction and reconstruction.
Sure. And like I said, I don't like the deconstruction thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like, if you were to put this story versus Nightfall versus
The Devil's Advocate.
no, not Devil's Advocate. Well, you could say Killing Joke is another deconstruction story. So,
well, Killing Joke is the king of deconstructions. Just another. I'm sorry.
There's Killing Joke.
Yeah.
The Cult, and I would say Hush. Okay, and maybe I'll throw Court of Owls in there too. Okay, if you were to throw all 4 of those and say which would I rather read, I would take Hush.
Hush.
I would take Hush.
Hush is the least interesting story out of those 4. To me, anyway.
Yeah. To me, Hush, for what it was, like I said, Hush, every part of it I enjoyed, with the exception of the last 2 pages. The last 2 pages are what destroy Hush for me.
Okay, here's the thing about Hush for me. Hush had its interesting aspects, but it would drag on and get boring for me at points. And the end was just whatever. It didn't really grab me that much. I'll say the twist is clever, but it's like I don't have a strong connection to Hush because Hush is a new character. And it's not emotional enough, in my opinion, to really get me to really feel for the characters. So the ending just didn't like connect to me like, say, the Killing Joke would or the Court of Owls would. It's just like I need some raw internal shit. And Hush gave a bit of that, but it didn't really go too much in. It was, so I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense.
Well, no, I get where you're coming from. But for me, and this is just my creative writing in mind, I guess.
Yeah.
There are ideas in Hush. Like Hush, reading it gets the creative juices going. Okay, I get all kinds of ideas that are fantastic. Like Huntress versus Scarecrow. Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, I would love more of that. Huntress versus Scarecrow. Joker in the story of it. Okay, I don't like the Joker very much. There's not a lot of Joker stories I like, but him in Hush was a great aspect of he's brought in on this plan to kill Batman, and then he decides, I don't care about the plan. I'm just going to do my own thing. That to me is fantastic. I love that. So that's another idea. The other one was the idea with the Riddler and the League of Assassins. I kind of like that idea. I kind of don't. You know, I'm a little bit 50-50 on that. That's a moment of the comic that I hesitate on. But
what, the Riddler's connection to them?
Yeah. How
I thought that was interesting, actually.
Yeah. Now another part I liked was Catwoman versus Lady Shiva. That I thought was awesome.
I forgot who won that.
Lady Shiva, easily.
That makes sense, dude. If you said it was Catwoman, I would have a double take.
Yeah. Modern day writers would have Catwoman win that. But
well, I don't mind Catwoman winning that, but it has to be done a certain way. Like when like they had a panel. Yeah, sorry for the noise. They had a panel where Poison Ivy where I think Harley Quinn was able to trip all three, the Flash, Barry Allen, Wally West, and some other speedster. She was able to like take them down easily, but that's because Poison Ivy like kissed them, or so she did something, and she was able to control them. So when they were running, she can control their speed. I didn't fully buy that. It was like, okay, I guess I could see it to some degree, but it still feels off to me. Like for me, for ordinary characters to take down superpowered characters, unless they get more powerful, there needs to be a specific strategy that's very tactical that works. That's why The Dark Knight Returns, where Batman has this whole elaborate setup to take Superman down, Oliver included, that worked for me. If Batman just, if Batman just came out of nowhere and just did something to Superman, I'd be scratching my head a bit. But, seeing Batman come up with this whole plan just to take him down, it made sense. So for Catwoman to beat Shiva, or for Poison Ivy's kiss, whatever, to work on the speedsters, it'd be fine if it was done a certain way. But just to see it alone, I have a bit of an issue with it. I had an issue where Batman punched Superman twice. With his kryptonite ring. I think it was a ring alone or something. I was like, give Batman some kryptonite gloves or something, like a ring, just a ring, and he's able to one-shot him that easily. And it's like, I get it. They wrote that he almost completely destroyed his arm with those punches, but it's like, there's just some things I don't buy. I feel like he needed more than just a ring, All right, I'll stop talking now. Yeah, you get my point.
Yeah, well, see, I kind of agree with you. Like, Catwoman versus Shiva, it entirely depends on the circumstance. However, where I would draw a line is that, like, Shiva is top tier contender for the best martial artist in the entire DC universe. Okay, like, she is in the running for it. And under the circumstances, Catwoman doesn't know who she's going to go up against. So, like, they kidnap Talia al Ghul, and that's to basically give Batman an opening to undermine and do his detective work. Okay, they kidnap Talia al Ghul, and they're basically under an agreement. Catwoman, you have to be ready to take on whatever they throw at you, because we don't know what they're going to throw at you. They could send at you assassins with guns. They could send at you knife-wielding assassins. They could send at you, martial artists. We don't know. They could send all of that at you. Who knows? So for Lady Shiva to have that even footing against Catwoman, great. I felt that the fight itself lacked Catwoman's finesse. It lacked her experience. It lacked her cunning. And as we see later on in those comics, or in Batman comics, or Robin comics, actually, cunning seems to be one of the weaknesses of Lady Shiva. For as great of a martial artist that she is, cunning is often her downfall.
You're saying that when it comes to a battle IQ, it's not that high? Well, when I mean battle IQ, I'm like, in a fight, thinking of the smartest move to play, no matter the situation,
Well,
because that's what cunning sounds like to me.
Well, no, cunning is your ability to misdirect and mislead.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily feint attacks, but feint attacks can be included in that. It could be just a way to catch your opponent off guard. It's one of the things that is why, like, Batman doesn't really articulate himself as a martial artist. People like saying, "Oh, Batman's a martial artist. He's mastered over 120 forms." Sure,
47, yeah.
but he himself does not articulate himself as a martial artist. He'll say, "I've studied martial arts. I've done martial arts." But he describes himself as a crime fighter.
Yeah.
All right. He doesn't describe himself as a superhero. He's like, "I'm a crime fighter."
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, he isn't afraid of taking dirt and throwing it in your eyes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just reading my messages.
No. I know. I'm just saying that, no, you're right. Which, I mean, unlike most people, Batman takes things very seriously, especially crime fighting. So I don't see himself calling himself a superhero per se, because he'll probably see that as childish. He doesn't think of it as a game. It's like he doesn't wear a cape, he wears a cloak. I mean, Batman takes the whole matter extremely seriously. I think he takes it more seriously than most superheroes in DC.
Yeah. So, it's like, all right, and Catwoman has cunning in spades.
Oh,
like,
she does.
That's the whole reason why she can go toe to toe with Batman. Is it's like, "Oh, you're not going to hit a woman, are you?" Well, think again. It's like, "All right, well, you're just a woman, right?" "Oh no, she's got claws." "Oh, okay, well, I can handle claws." "Oh, she's also got a bullwhip." "Oh, well, I can handle a bullwhip." "Oh, she also has a feline familiar."
What?
What? Like, Catwoman has all kinds of tricks that she whips out and pulls on a whim, and it's a part of what you get out of Hush when she says to Batman, "You can't keep up."
You see, this is why I prefer Brave and the Bold Batman. The hammers of justice are unisex. He has no chill. I love it.
Yeah, but like I said, like in Hush, she says to him, "You can't keep up." And Batman is like keeping up with her. The thing is, he gets shot. And that's what, like, a third party intervenes and stops him.
Yeah.
But, like I said, so when you have Catwoman versus Lady Shiva, in a straight up fight, Lady Shiva, 9 times out of 10.
Right.
However, Catwoman doesn't fight fair.
Oh, okay? That is true.
Catwoman will undercut you, undermine you, pull tricks on you just to win.
Does Lady Shiva fight fair?
No, she doesn't. She fights ruthlessly.
Yeah, I was wondering now.
Like, if you go into a fight with Lady Shiva, you're in for a fight for your life. Like, she does not fight lightly. She fights to kill. So, like, that's a part of her. Like, that's part of why she's like one of the number one assassins in the world in DC Universe. But she's also like sparingly used because she is the end game. And a friend of mine and I, we love the dynamics and messing around or toying around with the idea of.
Oh my bad. You're gonna get a kick out of this, Bats. Z Wolf wanted the link to your video, not the link to the
I know. I can read chat.
Oh, okay. You sent it to him?
No, it's in chat. He was watching. He typed in chat.
Oh, really? Is it just him?
No, right now I believe Niraj is watching.
All right, Niraj is your friend from D&D, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Technically my friend from longer than that, but that's fine.
I'm just
We-
mentioning a reference point to get my head flowing computer-wise.
Yeah.
Like I said, my mind's like a computer. It needs data.
Yeah. Well, getting back to the point, or on
Mhm.
topic. What I wanted to talk about was Batman the Cult. And how far along are you? Where are you at?
Oh, reading the comic?
Yeah.
I stopped doing it for a second because I was listening to your talk about Shiva, but I'm at the part where I believe, what's the name of the Native American again?
The Miyagani.
Yeti Miyagani. Son of a bitch. I keep fucking forgetting names. I hate myself. No, I'm at the part where he's trying to, like you said, I'm convinced Batman through manipulation. Like, I think it's one of his servants that tells him, I think, a bit about his story. And Batman's like, I
Yes.
don't believe it. And he's like, Batman's getting beaten down. Hell, he
Yeah.
looks beaten down. Look at that gut wound. Like, I don't know. And look, his insignia, it's ripped off his chest. Like, what the hell?
Yep.
Madness. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's still very early on in the comic that,
Yeah, I'm
Batman
not reading.
is
I'm taking my time because you're going through it.
yeah.
So, would you prefer I read fast?
No. Do what you want to do. You
Okay.
probably won't finish it by the time we're done.
Okay, then.
But what I love about the comic, okay, this is the highlight. This is the goodness of it. Is Deacon Blackfire is made into an unapologetic villain. Okay. They tap dance around like his motivations and they give you all sorts of misleading ideas like, oh, he's for this, he's for that, he's for this. And like I said, when you get to the end of it, and Batman already knows everything about this guy. Like in the first few pages, Batman already got this guy's gimmick. He understands this man. It's everyone else who doesn't understand this man. It's everyone else who's trying to puzzle it together and figure out what's this guy's motivation. So in that regard, it's also a fantastic story because it removed the hero from the problem. And it's very much like The Dark Knight Rises, how they cut Batman out for like an entire act of the movie, and they send him off to the prison, and now like you watch the city crumbling, you watch the city like fall apart, and all these things. The new government comes in, or the rogue government comes in. You're watching all these things happen without Batman being present in the town.
Yeah.
And this story does that pretty well. This story, you get that, you wrap your head around it, and you observe the unfolding of things like that.
I think my issue with Rises, unlike Begins and Night, is that outside of the fight for Gotham, the fight over Gotham, Batman and Bane don't really have much of a connection. It's like the dudes were both have deep history of the League of Assassins and all that, and of course they're cut from the same. Well, they're not cut from the same cloth, but they have very similar backgrounds to some degree. It's like they suffered and everything, but it's like unlike Ra's al Ghul and Begins or like Joker and Night, Bane is just, it's like, I'm not gonna say he's kind of there, but it's like the only thing Batman and Bane really have that's that deep, is their fight for Gotham. It's like maybe their backgrounds. It's like Bane talks about how he is more into the darkness than Batman could ever be, but it's like I wish there was more of that connection. Even Talia, it's like there's not much between Batman and Talia, and outside of like the fight for Gotham and maybe their feelings about Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul is the one who has the most connections in this movie, and he's not even alive. It's like he has strong ties with Batman, strong ties with Talia, strong ties with Bane. If Ra's al Ghul was the main character of this movie, then it would be stronger for me. But since Batman is the main character of this movie, it's just kind of just run of the mill, even though we're talking like the breaking of Gotham's foundations still feels run of the mill. So I wish, like in Begins and like in Nights, that Batman had more of a connection with the villains. I mean, look, Scarecrow was a secondary villain in Begins, and he makes a couple appearances in Night and Rises, but it's like Bane and Talia, they felt like Scarecrow. They're just there. They're not really they're not of any importance to Bruce or Batman at all, at least in terms of anything personal. It's just a job. Whereas I guess, unless we're talking the soul, the saving Gotham and everything. Whereas Ra's and Joker, like Ra's trained Bruce. He knows Bruce inside and out. And Joker, him and Batman have a strong connection that because they're ideologically opposed. They're yin and yang. So sorry to sidetrack this, Bats, but I'm just saying that
You're fine.
I wish Bane and the other villains in Rises had more of a connection to Batman. If there's one criticism I could give Rises, it would be that.
Well, there's an interesting net or thread I can see with Deacon Blackfire, Black Mask, to a lesser extent, but late like 90s Joker, it's definitely there's overlap.
Okay.
Bane has overlap, the original Bane.
Right.
Chuck Dixon Bane. And I would say probably Batman Begins, Ra's al Ghul, maybe. Less. No, I'm gonna say no, not Ra's al Ghul. I'm gonna nix him. So what these characters all have in common is they wanted to control and take over Gotham. Like that's their core goal, right? It's power, control, leadership, ownership, etc. And they all use the criminal elements to do this. All of them. Now, Deacon Blackfire, he takes a political route, but he's using a criminal campaign to do that. Black Mask, he takes a underworld or a criminal approach and maintains basically puppet control. He's actually learned from the mistakes of others. He's learned that it's easier to rule from the shadows than in the light. Deacon Blackfire tries ruling from the light. Bane tries to rule from the light. Ra's al Ghul tries to rule from the darkness, but again, I'm gonna move past him. And I said another one. Who was the other guy? Joker. Joker tries to rule from the light. So I'm looking at him and I'm weighing and I'm like, there's a contrasted difference in how each of these guys, their modus operandi and how they prefer to, combat the hero.
Mm. Did you make this map yourself?
No, this is from No Man's Land, issue number 1.
Wow.
This is Barbara Gordon's map. She is the one who drew the names in crayon.
Wow, that's
or the labels in crayon.
Mm.
I can show you my maps. I made maps.
Oh yeah, sure, if you want.
How do I swap that?
Yeah.
Oh. I'd have to open it first. This is... Okay, this is week 1. I'll open them all at the same time so that I can go right through them. Oh, I have a prettier map of Gotham too. Like a daylight version. It's also looks like it's a bit of a retcon because they don't have Bristol up in the north like it does in the other map.
Mm-hmm.
They have it Pittsburgh. All right, so which one? This is weak. All right. So this is based on the OG map there, which I was wrong earlier. I said that Two-Face was in Central. No, according to this map, let me zoom in here. We have Two-Face in the southeast, Penguin in like southeast as well, technically, but he's like in the northern east end of the South Island. You have Poison Ivy in the middle here. You have Lynx and her triads. You have the Low Boys gang, Blue Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Marburg, that is the my friend. That was her OC's group. They had carved out that. So for the story, in the other image, this area is just completely like unowned. It's unconquered. It's just a bunch of neighborhoods. So I was like, you know what? I'll put her little area there. You have Scarecrow, Killer Croc. This is supposed to be Mad Hatter and Scarface. Then you have that's a MASH sector. You have more Two-Face gang. You have Freeze gang, Zaz gang, and then you have a bunch of Black Mask territory. New Batgirl, that is actually in the in No Man's Land. Everyone's under the impression that Batman has returned when he hadn't. And it was Helena Bertinelli, or Wayne.
Yeah.
She's technically Batgirl 2.
Batwoman?
No, Batgirl.
Okay.
She is technically Batgirl 2. And she's running around with everyone because Helena is a tall person. Everyone's assuming that she is Batman.
Wait, hold on. Helena Bertinelli? Wait, Huntress?
Yes.
Oh, wait. Are we thinking Earth 2 Huntress, who's like the daughter?
Yeah, she's the same person. But at this point, no one knew.
Right. Okay.
So, in the comics, if I recall, the reason why she took up the Batman persona was because she was articulating the importance of Batman. She was articulating why he is necessary.
Yeah.
And so everyone was mistaking her as Batman because in No Man's Land, there are no streetlights and Batman would come out during the night. So she would go out and kick the ever-living shit out of people. And it was misleading people. It was like, whoa. So Batman discovers that it's a woman, and he discovers that, hey, I already know this girl. It's Huntress. I know her. And he's basically like accepting, like, okay, this is like, that's a part of that arc of that story there.
Yeah.
He's coming to terms with understanding how No Man's Land operates, because it doesn't operate like a city.
Yeah.
It operates like a
island?
No, like a prison system.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So everyone is tribal.
Right. I gotta tell you, No Man's Land, man, that book, that whole thing was crazy.
I loved it.
You loved it?
I love it. Yes.
I liked it. I didn't love it. I'll give it its chops. It was a damn good story.
I love Nightfall. But if someone were to tell me No Man's Land is the better story, I can accept that. I can concede and yield. Yes, No Man's Land is a fantastic story. But, for me, I like Nightfall. Nightfall was like, I'm just a big John Paul Valley fan. I love John Paul Valley. I love
right.
He went crazy, and I love that he was able to get redeemed. I love that. And No Man's Land is a part of that. No Man's Land is a part of why I like John Paul Valley, because His stories in No Man's Land are fantastic.
Honestly, Gotham just feels like Gotham always felt like No Man's Land to me. It's like no one wanted to touch Gotham. No, like hell, in the DC universe, regular people are like the last place they want to move to is Gotham. Sometimes the country tries to ignore the country of America tries to ignore that Gotham's a part of the country. It's like Gotham feels internally like a no man's land. So when it was split off from everywhere else, literally, I was like, this is Gotham's true fate.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a problem.
Gotham? Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to ask, how did you feel when Gotham adapted No Man's Land?
Gotham, the TV show?
Mm-hmm.
I did not watch that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think they did it around season 5.
I would believe it, and to hell with that show. God.
Damn.
That's just another thing that make me mad about that.
Yeah, well, look, in that universe, Batman deals with No Man's Land before No Man's Land happens. That gives him experience.
I know. I hate it so much. I hate it.
I love it. I love it. Okay, I like it. I don't love it. Like Gotham in the later seasons, the quality went down for me, but I still like the show.
Yeah, I beyond the actors,
yeah.
I hate the show. Like the actors are great. The actors are fantastic. They're all wonderful. I hate the show.
What about season 1? Didn't you like season 1?
No.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, I did not like season 1 had the most promise, but after season 1, you already get the idea of where the show is going.
Where it's like an episodic weekly cop sort of thing. Dealing with Batman's rogues before they become Batman's rogues.
Yes. And that's dumb. It's like, you know, as I said before, you've heard me say it before. It's like, it's like, hey, this murderer is running around gassing people with fear toxin. What do we do? And Batman's like, and then Gordon says, no, I know what to do. You take a back seat. I got this. And then Gordon goes and does the thing. And it's like, what? Like Gordon has more experience dealing with these masked weirdos than Batman. Like, what? Why is Batman necessary? There's no need to have Batman. Now, I didn't see the show to see how it plays out. But if they were to take the route of criminals, they got rid of the supervillains. They just did criminals. Yeah. And they had criminals continuing and perpetuating their cycle of being criminals in Gotham. And it showed you the fall of Gotham, the descent into madness of Gotham. I would be okay with that. That I think would be fine. And then that sets the stage for, all right, here's now where Batman comes in and starts making the difference. And you end the series with, or leading up to, you know, Batman making his appearance and Batman starting to kick the ever-living crap out of villains.
Honestly, out of the rise of it's. I'm not gonna say exactly what happens, but in the later seasons, there's this transition from Gordon to Batman, meaning that Gordon, he's still the main character, but little Bruce Wayne is like the real person actually solving these issues when the crazier it gets. So you got Gordon, and then you got Batboy. And Gordon's helping out, but Batboy's the one who's saving the day. That's the direction it goes in around the later seasons.
Yeah. So it's probably after having so much flack and so much criticism of it, it's like, oh, this is what the fans want.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, Gordon still does his part, but he's not the one that solves the major problems. But that's because they take Bruce Wayne in an Anakin Skywalker direction. And what I mean by, I should say a Phantom Menace Anakin Skywalker direction, where it's like his destiny to become Batman is like prophecy. They're not exactly saying that, but they're building him up to become the Batman, you know? And save Gotham. And I mean, I liked it, but there's some writing decisions I would have changed.
Yeah, they had some writing ideas that I'm iffy about. They have a lot of writing ideas I hate. I absolutely freaking hate. But they have some ideas that it's like, if you didn't do what you did with the show, this could have been interesting. You know, like I like Roman Sionis' dad being a criminal. Like I like that. In the comics, he's like a nobody. Like he's just a regular guy he's an honest businessman, and he's just like, son, why are you so bad at this? You know,
Yeah.
where in Gotham they were like, oh no, the dad is just as corrupt and evil as Roman Sionis. So it's like, oh, okay. And then they did the same thing with Scarecrow. And it's like, why? Like Scarecrow's thing is that his grandmother was the one that beat him, or his aunt. I think it's his aunt. Like she's the one that beat the ever living crap out of Scarecrow and made him fearful and you know, a horrible person that he is.
Yeah.
And then they had Poison Ivy in there. They didn't do anything with her as far as I know. They had Catwoman and Bruce like interacting every 5 seconds, and it's like, what are you doing? Why are you putting these two together? Like, stop.
What, little Bruce Wayne and little Selena Kyle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, man, for some reason it made me laugh. I'm like, wow, so in this universe, they knew each other since they're kids. It makes me laugh. It's like this feels like a television trope, but it's fine. I don't really care. It's cool. Plus, they have good chemistry. And when I mean good chemistry, I mean the actors. They're really good. They're believable in the same scenes. So yeah. I don't know. Gotham kind of, I feel like later in the show it kind of fell apart a bit, but I had a good time. And also, Keegan's not going to watch this because he doesn't watch live streams that he's not in for some reason, according to him. But I will concede that Smallville is the better origin show. As much as I like Gotham,
Out of Gotham and Smallville, Gotham or Smallville, yeah, I'd agree. Smallville is probably better at it.
Because well, we had a debate, and Keegan was saying Smallville in the way. I was like, no, I feel like Gotham's a better show. But you know, now that I think about it, Bats, I think I'll give it to Smallville.
Yeah, I would give it to Smallville. Just because Smallville, for what it was, it stuck to its lane. Where
in Smallville,
yeah, where Gotham, its lane was, well, it's a cop detective drama. Well, no, it's more like a criminal crime drama. Well, no, it's more like a superhero origin story. Well, no, it's more like a villain or
you could argue that each season has a multitude of genres.
For Gotham?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Up. Like they were all over the place. And it's like, no, you should have stuck and focused on Jim Gordon. You know, if that's what they were going to do, they should have stuck and focused on Jim Gordon. If they were going to focus on the criminals, then they should have focused on the criminals' origins.
Which you want like a one note consistent line for the show, right?
Yeah, what you do is you create a scope and you stay within that scope.
Now, I have no issue. Oh, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
If you want to branch out of the scope, okay, one, don't do that. Don't branch out of the scope.
Wow. Okay.
What you do is you make the scope simple. Okay, like it's a crime show. Okay, it's a crime show. Now you have something to work with. Okay, because now you have your idea as to what it is you're doing. So it's a crime show. You can talk about vigilantism. You can talk about criminal behavior. You can talk about criminal in circumstances. You could talk about public criminals, private criminals. Like there's different avenues you can go. Now, the other thing the show did wrong is it tried doing like a comic book thing or like a supernatural thing where they sliced up story arcs and intermixed them with episodes. And it's like they shouldn't have done that.
Wait. When you mean slice up story arcs and intermix them with episodes, you mean like they made they transitioned from episodic to narrative?
No, it's more like, I don't know how to articulate it, but it's more like you get an episode, excuse me, you get an episode where you're thinking this is about Jim Gordon solving the death of someone who was poisoned by gas.
Oh, okay. So you're saying,
And then they cut to Catwoman learning how to steal. They
oh,
cut
wait.
to
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne falling down the stairs. And it's like, how does any of this tie into Jim Gordon figuring out how someone got gassed?
You mean they take the ongoing storylines of characters and they mix them with the episodic premise. So yeah, a lot of shows seem to do that. Lucifer does it. Yeah, a lot of these. Honestly, I would only include all that other stuff if it was relevant to the main plot of the episode. Like, make it relevant.
That's how it should be done.
Yeah, how does it connect? Yeah.
Like, you could do callbacks to like previous episodes. That's fine. But when you're trying to tell a story, that's terrible. That's god awful doing that.
It does get you a bit lost at sometimes.
Well, it's not that it gets you lost. It doesn't capture your attention span.
Right.
You know, like, there's no positive to doing that. The only reason why you do it is because you're delaying and stalling because you have no other material. And that's the main issue with it. And that's I was telling you about Friday Night Tights, or not Friday Night Tights, Nerdrotic interviewing Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about Bane breaking Batman. And when you see that transition, if you remember, okay, when Batman fights Bane, you don't actually really see the fight. Like, they fight, Bane breaks Batman, and like that's it. Like that's the end of the comic.
Right.
And then the next comic is Bane standing on top of a building throwing Batman down into the streets. And they were talking about it on the real BBC. They were saying how Graham was saying you don't really think about it, like the logistics of like how, like, think Bane grabs Batman, throws him into a car, drives him into the center city of Gotham, climbs up a building with a decrepit Batman, then he throws him off the building into the street. Like, you don't see that. You don't care about that. That doesn't, those logistics don't matter. Okay? Whereas if it were in like a modern Marvel movie, they would have those type of logistics. They'd make a joke about it. It's like, oh, now Bane has to pick Batman up, this crippled man, 6'2", 210 pounds. Bane's over here. Oh, got to get his head in first. Got to slide him into the back seat. You know? And it's like, no, I don't care about that. Like, cut to the action. I want to see what's going on.
Right.
And Az from Heel versus Babyface, he was talking about that too. He was like, a lot of these shows, Gotham Knights is one of them. They have like 40 minutes of talking and then like 2 minutes of action. And it's like, no one cares about, like, they were to talk about The Mandalorian season 3. They're like, there are so many shots of this guy just walking up to a door, opening the door very slowly, walking through the door. Like, that's not a good way to tell a story. Like, we assume you can open doors. We assume you can go from point A to point B. I want the context. I want to know what we're talking about. Why am I watching this episode? I want to know what's the plot? What's the character thinking? What's the narration that the writer is trying to tell me? That's what I want to know. And you know, that's when, like, that's a part of what gets me hooked into a story. And that might be why I don't like The Killing Joke very much. As much as we were talking about The Killing Joke and
the
Devil's Advocate.
Joker, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. And it's like The Killing Joke, it doesn't really capture that in me.
I think
it doesn't capture that interest for me.
oh, it doesn't capture that. Oh, I was gonna say in terms of like pacing and the events. Like for me, the Killing Joke is one of the most to the point stories ever made. Like there's no filler at all. There's no cutting to all these irrelevant actions. It's like every moment in that book, and I'm not talking about the fucking movie adaptation with the stupid Batgirl opening.
Yeah, we're
But
talking the comic book.
yeah, the comic, yeah. Every moment in that book is relevant to the story. It's sharp, it's sleek, it's fast, it's to the point. Actually, it's one of the shortest, I think, stories I ever read personally. And it's part of like the flashbacks to Joker's past, or you know what the imagined flashbacks or whatever. It's ambiguous. They're not random. You know, there's a reason why they're there. It connects to the main central story. It's like the Killing Joke is like every aspect of it is super relevant to the overall story. And I wish more comics had that sort of style. You know, it doesn't have to have the exact tone or ideas that the Killing Joke has, but if it had the same structure, if more comic book stories had the same structure as the Killing Joke, I think the comic industry would be in a good place right now.
Well, that's how I feel about a lot of Chuck Dixon's writing with Batman. Is that
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
agree.
the writing
He
is
has similar structure. It's to the point.
yeah, it's to the point. It doesn't beat around the bush. It gives you what you want to know. And you know, sorry, we went off completely from talking about uh,
The Cult,
the
yeah.
cult.
That's on me.
But no, it's fine because a lot of, you know, as I said before, the main thing I like about the story is that it does come off like a typical Batman story. But there's a lot of creative techniques that are used in it, and a part of what I hope to accomplish with this podcast thing I'm doing here is to talk about different story ideas and to strike or spark, as I put it, the creative juices in the mind of others. So
I think it's working. This whole, like, even if we get off point for a bit, this whole conversation, I feel like we're talking about various techniques and strategies for storytelling.
yeah, and so like, you know, I feel like with the cult, there's several moments where it feels like they're just dragging things on, and they're probably necessary, but I don't like them.
Mm,
You know, so like I'm not going to be eager to reread this story. I'm not going to be eager to reread it.
right.
But the elements I like in it is, and when I was reading it, I had to stop because Batman, the entire time he's being Batman, he's like, I thought there was some mysticism, some divine light to this deacon guy. Like I thought that there was more to this guy than really what there is.
Right.
It seems that this guy is just a con artist. That's how Batman chalks him up. He's just a con artist.
Yeah.
And the writer shows you that no, he is not a con artist. Like this guy is the real deal. And
I like that twist. Like Batman thinks, okay, yeah, this guy, he's just full of it. But then it turns out, oh wait, no.
right. Well, no, up to the end of the comic, Batman still acknowledges the guy is a con artist.
Right.
Like Batman never gets an answer to it. Well, Batman does technically get the answer, but he completely ignores it. He just is like, no, that's bullshit. It's just
I
bullshit.
don't think like how should I say this? I don't think I don't think this guy having divine powers or anything like that, because you know, Batman, the Justice League, the shit he's seen. I don't think this guy having any of that bats is enough for Batman to say, okay, this guy is actually legit. I think with this guy's mindset, him actually being the real deal in terms of these abilities is even more reason for Batman to come to the conclusion that this guy is bullshit. Like he has these abilities, and this is what he does with it. I feel like in Batman's mind, regardless of what this guy can do, the fact that he chooses to use it for this, and this is his mindset, it's bullshit.
well, there's some great imagery, and we're not doing justice talking about it in terms of imagery.
Yeah.
But there's some great imagery where they make a point to emphasize that this guy has red eyes. Deacon Blackfire has red eyes.
Yeah.
And they love using depictions of red backgrounds for him. And it's because they're even in several instances when Batman hallucinates, Deacon Blackfire transforms into a demon. And so it's some really strong imagery there. And like I said, when I was reading it, I had to pause because I was like, I was finding myself not liking the story the more they went into the mystical stuff.
Yeah, the
And
mystical stuff turns you off, right?
sort of. But I had to pause myself and realize that, well, Batman is no stranger to encountering mystic stuff that makes no sense at all. All right. Like there's several characters that he has encountered that there is no logic or reason to their being, but he still accepts and deals with them accordingly.
Because detective.
Right. Because he's a detective. So it's like whatever he comes face to face with, he can't just say, I had a great villain in mind, and I completely went blank on them.
Ra's al Ghul?
No, not Raish.
Because Ra's is one of Batman's most mystical villains out
He
there.
is, yes, he is one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tattoo Man.
Tattoo Man?
Tattoo Man is one. Tattoo Man is one that Batman has taken on. And if you don't know anything about Tattoo Man, his gimmick is that he has these tattoos on him and he can summon them with his willpower.
Right.
And he can make them do all kinds of he's like a Green Lantern, except for their tattoos on his body. And he's able to bring them to life. And he's an absolutely like destructive and badass villain. But like that's a villain that no matter what Batman does, Batman can try to science it out all he wants. The reality is this guy can control his tattoos, make them manifest into a living thing with no real tricks to it. Like it's just pure, it's his mind, his body. And Batman just has to accept that. Like he can't just be like, oh well, this guy's a con artist. Like, no, okay, that doesn't change the fact the cobra bites you and now you're dead.
You're garbage that kills for money. Yeah.
So, like I said, what I like about Deacon Blackfire is that he is a unapologetic villain and his goals change throughout it. And he evolves. He evolves in the story and adjusts his strategies and tactics to his enemies. And, in the story, and this is also what's fantastic. Take notes, future dungeon masters. The police, the governor's office, the National Guard, all tried to stop Deacon Blackfire and failed. And this created the conundrum where they're like, all right, so how do we approach this? We can go in, scorched earth, and kill, all of the gang, all of the Blackfire Deacon people, and we can take the nuclear option effectively, but it's going to cost us a lot of lives. We're going to lose a lot of people trying to do this, and we're going to have civilian casualties. We're going to have casualties on their side, casualties on our side. Do we really want to do this? And so they try to have this discussion. And then you have the some people who are quote unquote good guys. They're siding with Deacon Blackfire because Deacon Blackfire is killing criminals. So it's like, oh, well, he's killing the bad guy, so he must be a good guy. And it's a mind manipulation game. And it sets the stage so perfectly for Batman to be the hero. Because it's like, and Batman's like one of the first things he says when he comes into Gotham and he fires off a rocket launcher, he says the military and the police are hesitant to do property damage. I'm not afraid of doing just a little bit of property damage. And then it shows you the building exploding from the rocket. Like, and again, as a Batman story, it's good in that it gives like Batman's entire idea to it is like you haven't gotten there yet, but there's a scene in it where he gets annoyed by the guns he's using. He's using guns. And he gets annoyed at the guns, and he says, "This is another reason why I don't like guns." Like his gun jammed on him, and it cost someone's. It cost someone. So,
Right.
you know, Batman was like, "This is why I don't like guns."
That was pretty funny. That sounds pretty funny.
And so yeah, it shows you like the stakes are high, and it properly sets the stakes high so that Batman is willing to do whatever it takes to win. And, you know, it makes me have a little bit more appreciation for Chris Nolan's understanding of The Dark Knight Rises, because that's basically how Batman handled it in that. It was like, I don't want to have to use guns and cannons and machine guns, but if my enemy is using that level of firepower, and I'm not the only one in the crosshairs. If the entire city is in the crosshairs, then you better believe it, I'm going to amp up to that level, even to the point of if I have to kill someone. You know, that's the degree Batman is willing to rise to. And I love that. It's like, yeah, that's logical. Sherlock Holmes is the same way. So I look at it, my story writing / dungeon master style, even role playing, my story writing style is I like the heroes to be heroes. I let them, I open the window for them to do the right thing and to be heroes and you know, get the accolades and the rewards for being good people.
Right.
I've told this story before on this stream to Lady Potato and ChaosRyzen or Benefactor. I've shared this story before, but in Lady Potato's game, we were all in this town and we're all new characters. We don't even know each other. We're just getting to know each other. And we're all responding to this right. No, we're just, I think we're just responding to like this looking for work ad. So we're just in town, all of our characters, we don't know each other. We're hanging out in the bar, we're drinking, getting to know each other. And next thing we know, the town gets attacked by like an army of undead. And we're fighting them, and we all get separated, and we're trying to fight these undead, saving civilians, saving people. Felt good. It's like, yeah, all right, I'm being a hero. Cool. And my guy is a barbarian. He's basically naked. He's got a belt. He's got his underwear, and he's got a bunch of hand axes on him. And he's running around here fighting and kicking ass, and everyone kind of sees him as just like this goofy, happy-go-lucky dwarf. But his story is that he is on a mission to die in honorable combat.
Yeah.
You know, his objective is to die, and you know, to him, every moment is a moment to be savored. Every moment is a precious moment to have a love and affinity for, because at any moment in his life, he could die. So everyone looks at him like, oh, he's just a funny little dwarf. You know, he's very cute. And so what happens, or they discover after fighting the undead, is that the undead, a group of them, had kidnapped all of the town's children. So my guy, talking to like the town commander, is like, all right, I'll gather my party and we'll go and rescue them. You know, I know a bunch of people. I know a bunch of guys, and we can all work together and we'll go get the children. And at this point, it started to rain, and my guy and his companion who's with him, because we all split up, found one of the guys. Me and him were like, hey, we're gonna go and look for the others. All right, we look for the others.
We find they're all back at the tavern drinking, celebrating. Hey, we kicked the ass of those undead, and it's awesome. We're heroes. And my guy is like, what the hell is this? And they're like, what? And it's like, hey, they need our help. Well, what do you mean they need our help? We saved the town. They can clean up the rest. No. The monsters had taken the kids. And they're like, oh no, we got to help them. My guy's like, yeah. And so, he's like, all right, let's, are you guys good to go? Are you guys saddled up? And they're like, oh no, we'll do that in the morning. We'll go after them. Look, it's dark. It's raining. Like it's not safe for us to go out there. And my guy was ready to like take scalps. My guy was like, yeah, it's dark. It's raining. And they're in the hands of monsters. How do you think the kids feel? And all of the characters, even the players, were like, oh shit. Like, oh shit. This guy's got a point. He's got a serious point here. And sure enough, I managed to convince the party we're going to take chase. We're going to save those kids. And and everyone's like, oh, we'll pay you for it and shit. My character's like, I don't care about the pay. It's not about the pay for my character. My guy's a freaking hobo. He's in his underwear and he's got a bunch of hand axes, right? Like, he doesn't care about the pay. So everyone else is like, sure, we'll take the money. At any rate, at the end of the game, when all was said and done, the DM had, Lady Potato had taken me aside, and she said, I really appreciate you doing that. Because if the party decided not to pursue, I had no way to hook them into actually pursuing and trying to save the kids. And she's like, they probably would have died that night. And so I was like, I got you. I got you. Like me as a dungeon master, seeing how the campaign was going, seeing how it was unfolding, it's like, no, this is very obviously a hook for us as DM or as players to jump into the adventure, to find out what's going on, to find out who the main villain is. Like, if we're all going to sit around and get drunk in a tavern, what's the point? Like, no one wants to read that story. That's not a story. Hey, a bunch of kids get kidnapped and then the heroes sit in the tavern and drink. Like, that's a Ryan Johnson story.
Yeah, exactly. Subverting expectations.
Yeah, like, the hell with that.
I'm going to sound like Mr. Plinkin in his Last Jedi review. I subverted my hand upside his head. Yeah.
I subverted my hand upside his head.
Yeah. Yeah, that joke was funny.
But, that's from reading The Cult. That's how I felt towards the end. It was like, I'm waiting for Batman to get out of this really depressing mood that he's in and just start kicking some ass. And it does deliver on that. It does. You get plenty of Batman kicking some ass. Where contrast that, I think it did it better than The Dark Knight Returns in that regard.
Well, yeah, I don't think The Dark Knight Returns. You see Batman really kicking ass till he goes up against the mutants. That shit, man.
Yeah. Yeah, like I thought The Dark Knight Returns was very boring.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It was very boring.
It never bored me because I was curious to see this what if dark timeline DC setup where these characters, the worst outcome, well, not the worst, but like one of the sadder outcomes for like the characters of DC imaginable happens, and this is the state of everyone, and this is the state of Batman. So it's like, since I was so invested in the world building of this what if scenario of DC, I was never bored, despite there being like more talking than action in The Dark Knight Returns, if you ask me.
Yeah, I just, for me, I was just like, where is this going? Like, what is this all about? Like, why am I reading this? That was my thing with it. I just kept wondering, why am I reading this? Like, this is just like, I guess I'd interpret it as like very depressing, not interesting.
Well, it was depressing. Don't get me wrong. You're not off the money there. Like when I
Yeah.
saw Alfred, like look at the family heirlooms and all the photos and everything before walking out of the Batcave when it exploded, man, I think a tear went down my eye. Did he die of a heart attack?
Alfred, I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fucked. You know, it's like I was surprised to know he was still alive. I expected him to die like in Batman Beyond when Alfred's like, you know, long dead because he was an old man when Bruce was in his 30s. It's like I don't see him living long enough to when Bruce is like very old, but the Dark Knight Returns beg to differ.
Yeah. See, I would like to think in my own head canon, you know, once Alfred, like I would have, maybe that needs to be a story of Alfred, like in his old age, and Bruce is there helping him. You know, Bruce is like, hey, I'll make you dinner and things like that. Maybe I would like to see that story at some point.
That'd be a great story, actually.
Yeah, just to like that. See, that'd be a hopeful story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it would be sad, but it would be a hopeful one. It's like, you know, this is the cycle of life and death. You know, it's like you start out as a kid, your parents put you in diapers and they take care of you and they raise you up to be big and strong. And then when they reach their feebled state, you're there taking care of them. You're taking them to hospitals and you're looking after them, you know, and then you know, as beautifully poetic as it is, okay, your parents, ideally, I know not for everybody, but your parents are there for you in your birth. So in a way, in your entrance, your parents are there. Okay, you're coming into this world, they are the ones to greet you.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're leaving this world, you are the one saying goodbye. And that, to me, that's poetic. That's beautiful. You know, like, you know, I don't want to see a Batman story like where Batman's saying goodbye to Alfred for the last time, but like a story where you just get the idea that's like maybe you leave it, you have the ending where Batman is like wishing Alfred good night, and he's like, and I look forward to doing this every night until I can't anymore.
Yeah,
like that would be a great ending. Let's see. Narash supposed something in the chat. That would be the story of Alfred holding on long enough to make sure Bruce would actually be okay before he felt safe letting go. Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know what? This would be just a take, Bats, but me personally, man, this is why I love the ending. For what it's worth, as shitty as the story and the movie is why I love the ending for Batman and Robin, because Alfred, it's like they allude and imply that Alfred is dying throughout the movie, but the idea that Mr. Freeze, who longs for his wife, is willing to sacrifice, I guess, his formula to save Alfred's life. Like, he's willing to give it to Alfred because they already lost Nora, so he's willing to give it to like Bruce and everything. And Bruce uses it to save Alfred's life, and Alfred is alive again. And it's a hopeful ending. It's like you allude to a dark time ahead, like the loss of a loved one, and then you show that there can be a way to solve the issue. It was just beautiful.
Well, no, in that movie's case, Nora wasn't dead, and
she was just frozen, right?
Yes, she was. Poison Ivy thought she killed her.
Oh,
but okay. Poison Ivy miscalculated and misunderstood.
Oh shit! Zeolf said not exactly. What does he mean by that, though? I don't know what Zeolf is. Is he referring to what I said or what you said, Bats?
I don't know.
Yeah, neither do I.
Let me finish my point, though. Nora isn't killed. Poison Ivy thinks she killed him or killed her. Okay, and she makes that miscalculated step. That's all part of her downfall. Batman is quick to understand she just got disconnected off of life support. We need to reconnect her. Okay, and he is very pointed in when he tells Mr. Freeze, I managed to save her. And in exchange for that, I'm asking you to save someone I care about. That's at the end of the movie is because Mr. Freeze is like, go ahead and kill me, Batman. I have nothing to live for now. And Batman's like, no, you have Nora still. Like, she's still with you. And you can save her. I want you to save her. Okay? But in exchange for me saving her, I'm asking you to save someone I care about. And Mr. Freeze had already had already had the antidote to the stage 2, I think it's like McGregor syndrome. He already figured out how to cure that. So he didn't get to stage 4, a stage 4 cure. So, it wasn't like these were the only cures that Mr. Freeze had. It wasn't like Mr. Freeze couldn't replicate it and make more. It was just, he those were the 2 that he had on him. So it was like, oh yeah, here, this is where I stash it. That you could say is a little wonky that he's walking around with the cure, but it's comic books. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you see the amicable ending between Batman and Mr. Freeze, and it makes Mr. Freeze into that sympathetic villain where you feel good that he is willing to work with Batman and that he's a guy who's been completely shafted by the powers that be.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman isn't going to condemn him. Batman isn't going to condemn him because of a few bad actions. Batman is going to say, all right, look, everyone's has had shitty luck. We're gonna work on making things better for you. We're gonna start your recovery.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Here's what.
It has been a while since I've seen that movie, but I gotta say, man, Mr. Freeze, Bane, Poison Ivy, that's a very interesting lineup. Like, I wouldn't put, like, if I wrote a Batman story, I don't see myself putting those 3 characters together for a movie. But I was surprised that they did. No, I'll say it again. I said it before and I'll say it again. Bane did not feel like Bane in that movie. He felt like Solomon Grundy.
Yeah, he's not.
He's
not Bane. He's not Bane.
I feel like you took Solomon Grundy's mask. You took Bane's mask and put it on Solomon Grundy's head. And, you just like that, like, and you're calling him Bane. It's like, no, it's Solomon Grundy in a Bane mask. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm stressing this, but
yeah, I wouldn't say Solomon Grundy either. I would articulate him like
Bizarro, Bat Zorro, like who?
No, not even.
Yeah,
he was more like one of Poison Ivy's Umber Hulk.
Yeah,
like that. That's what she came off. That's how he came off. I'm sorry. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But Z-Wolf says the point of Mr. Freeze in this movie is not about a villain and a hero. It's about desperate times. He solved the stage Alfred was in. He didn't give his last medicine. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't take that as him being like, oh, this is the only. These are the only cures in existence. Like, no,
I gotta watch them. I gotta watch the movie again. It's been years.
Yeah, I had seen it many times.
Really?
Yeah, I'd seen it many times.
I think I've only watched it 3 times, and that was years ago. I gotta watch it again.
Yeah, for me, it was years ago. When I was first starting to get into Batman in like the mid 2000s, that was one of the few movies I had as a point of reference to study and learn Batman. And, to me, it was like, I don't like the movie, but like I could see the different aspects of the characters in it. And so, like, as much as I rail against George Clooney as Batman, there's writing that they have for Batman that's very much good Batman. And that's part of the problem that like people get so caught up in the bat nipples. All right. They get so caught up in the dialogue, like the Bat credit card or Batman and Robin fighting over Poison Ivy. They get caught up in all that stuff. they miss out on the moments of character. And it's easily overshadowed because it is a terrible film. But as a Batman fan, it's like there's these little nuggets in there that are great. And I just wish they actually tried harder. Now I'm going to circle back around to what you were saying. Bane, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze. There's some great stories to write there with those three. But I was going to say a combination I liked from Chuck Dixon's Batman is Bane and Catwoman. I wanted to see more of that. I wanted to see more of Bane and Catwoman working together because he is very like he's an anti-Batman, and him working with Catwoman, it's like he's a criminal, so he knows how to use Catwoman's talent to their fullest. It's like, hey, here's a perfect job for Catwoman to do. I'm going to give that to her, and I'm going to test her loyalty. Is she loyal? And surprise, surprise, Bane figures out, no, she's not really loyal, but she is loyal to a paycheck. So as long as he controls the paycheck, he controls her loyalty, which is great. That's fantastic writing right there. It's not devaluing Catwoman, and it's not making these two under like a false pretense, like a Joker Scarecrow team up. Like they both go into this relationship under a false pretense. Bane and Catwoman, they both like Catwoman does not trust Bane at all. She's like, this guy is a fucking brute. This guy is mean. If I'm not careful, this guy will kill me. And Bane's looking at it as, I can't trust her with important details to my plan, but I can give her little tiny pieces, and they'll be so minuscule she can't figure out what the bigger plan is. As well as Bane also notes that Catwoman, he sees that there is a light in her, and that light is a bad thing to him. It's like that light is what is a vulnerability that can cause the entire plan to go sideways. So, like I said, I would have loved to have seen some of that. I would have loved to have seen some more Bane Catwoman stories. Now, Bane Mr. Freeze, that could be cool. And Bane and Poison Ivy, that could be cool. But under both circumstances, Bane has to be the alpha dog. Bane has to be the one who's coming off with the plan. Mr. Freeze, he really wouldn't get behind that. You know, he wouldn't have some super plan that he would say, I need Bane and I need Poison Ivy to work with me. And Poison Ivy, she is ideologically driven. So you wouldn't have a circumstance where she's like, oh, I need Bane and I need Mr. Freeze. You know, as you saw with in Batman and Robin, her whole agenda with Mr. Freeze is, oh, this is a scientist who can make a giant freeze gun and wipe out humanity. You know, that's her goal. That's her agenda. So that's the only reason why she needs Mr. Freeze in that story.
Let
me see.
Yeah.
Let me I'm going to share another one of these. This is which one is this? Week 2. So this is week 2 of my No Man's Land.
Okay.
And let me see, what differences happened from week 1 and week 2? I'm drawing a blank. I don't think there was much of a difference. Oh, there was. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, week 2, Scarface's gang expanded. So I made so there's a little bit more expansion right here. And then I'll switch to week 3. I'll show week 3. And week 3 converted all of Scarface's territory into Batman's territory.
Ouch. Hey, there was an app, a game app. I don't remember when it came out. No, yeah, there was a game app. I don't remember when it came out, but it was when I was in middle school. There was this game where you could play as criminals in Gotham City. And the more status you got, the more status you got, the more men you got. You were building your own criminal empire, and you were
It
going
wasn't Gotham
against-
City Imposters, was it?
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think that was the name. But
Okay.
yeah, was it an RPG? Like, because the game was an RPG.
I don't know. I never played Gotham City Imposters. It struck me as like you're playing as like criminal gang Batman.
Well, yeah, no, but anyway, you're playing as a criminal gang member, going up against other criminals, and I think the top dog was Batman. Like, he was at the very end. He was the game boss, the main villain. I don't know. I just thought of the game.
Yeah.
Well, not the main villain, but you get it. The main antagonist of the game.
Yeah, I figured that's what you meant.
Yeah. You think it's Gotham Imposters? That's the name of it?
I think it's Gotham City Imposters.
Well, the app isn't around anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I can do a Google search of that. See what comes up. And by the way, Jim Starlin.
1 second.
Literally comes up. Gotham City Imposters.
And yeah, I doubt it's that game. Yeah, Zero says, Bats, please hold. And he says, your call is very important to us. Yeah, exactly. Very important. But it's okay. I'm not hurt by that. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back to talking about the Batman the Cult, because that's what I wanted to talk about. So from a dungeon master standpoint, I've had a few cults in my time that I have controlled and ran in stories. I've actually gotten my players. The Benefactor is one of them. His character was a part of a Dark Gods cult. They were under the impression of this idea that, hey, I am to serve justice, and that's my goals. That's my agenda, is to serve justice. And because they're serving justice for an evil god, there's like this evil god's method of justice is always like ironic or twisted. So it's like, if you're a person who your method of killing is to slice them with a sword, the ironic death you would get is that you get sliced by a sword. Whereas if you were a, let's say we're on YouTube, so I'm gonna have to use the buzz language. If you're a person who likes the snuggle struggle, then you would probably die by you'd probably get like a pine cone in the bunghole or something to that effect. Like you'd get tortured or maimed before your final execution. That's just the level of justice and law and order that this dark god executed. And to them, to the players, it's like, oh, cool, this is like a like the Punisher if he were a god, and this is great. This is awesome. He's ruthless. And then they find out that this god is like, he's not happy with, oh, you're not fully committed to me. I need to know that you're fully committed to justice. You need to be fully committed to my cause.
Hey, Bats, come back.
Okay. Where the other gods, the lawful good and the neutral good and the chaotic good, those gods, their different takes on justice varied to be like, okay, did you take care of the evil? Yes. Okay, did you right the wrongs of the evil? Yes or no? Some of them care, some of them don't. If you had some sort of impact that was negative, depending on if they're a neutral good or lawful good or a chaotic good, each god would have a different angle or a different care as to how the end result occurred. And typically they're looking for a ending that is a positive one. They're looking for an ending that is beneficial to society or to nature, to bring balance to the world. Whereas if all you're doing is running around chopping people's heads off, you're not actually balancing anything out. You're just killing criminals, and your motivations, you yourself aren't becoming a better person. You yourself aren't growing. You're just a mad dog looking to cut someone's heads off, and the right or the justice or the lawful is your excuse to do that. So, and within my game's universe, there's a place for that type of person. They're usually just written off as, oh, this is just a zealot. Their job is to just run around and do that. If you give them anything more important, they don't really show up in the hierarchy. They don't really become important to anyone. It's just like, okay, here's a soldier. They live and die by the blade of their army. And sorry, Batkid, I just got done explaining to the audience one of the ideas for my game, how I have a structure of good gods and bad gods, and then I have this god of evil.
I don't know why you're apologizing to me.
Well, no, because you kind of came in and I was in the middle of describing it. So.
Oh, no, it's cool. It's cool. The show must go on, as they say.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And if you have to go at any point in time, feel free to let me know.
Just yeah, like, sure, hey, definitely. I'll have to go in a bit. In a little bit, I'll have to go, but I could stay here for now.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that was a part of what I liked about this, is that I've had cults that have, before I even read this story, I've had cults that operate and act like this story. And I have read some Sherlock Holmes, so that might be where I'm getting some influence. I have watched many TV shows, watched or read many different stories. So like I have just different conspiracy ideas and things like that are floating around my head.
Look, dude, you really got to do something with this. I mean, look, role plays are great, and I love role plays. I do them at times too. Just saying, man, just wish you'd, I don't know, every time you talk about this stuff, the part of my brain that's screaming opportunity is just, it won't shut up. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just, at my heart, I'm a writer. And that just seems to, along with support, that seems to be what I'm good at, is just writing and telling stories. And I hope I'm good at it. I get some good feedback, so it's like awesome, cool. But like I said, I
Yeah, you're good.
I like the fact that this is a story about a cult group. I like that it's a story about a con man. I also like that it's Deacon Blackfire gets a lot of praise on the outside of this story, but he isn't the only person who makes the thing happen. He has his side companion, his lieutenant, Jim something or other. I forget what his name is. But he has his sidekick, and he does a lot of the legwork for Deacon Blackfire. And they're both criminal conspirators together. And then he also has a Rat Face. He has a minion called Rat Face. Everyone calls him that apparently. Batman says in the start of the comic, it's like I've come to call him Rat Face because he looks like a rat. But then it's like everyone else calls him Rat Face. So it's like, did Batman make up that name, or is that just something that they subliminally planted in his mind? I don't know. But I like I said, I love the cult idea. I love having all different motives and agendas. I love villains who backstab and betray their own people. I love that trope. That's a great trope. You're dealing with evil people. Did you think they would do any good? Did you think that they're on your side? Like, and I've tried to have this conversation before with Benefactor and Eve Dalion, and even Lady Potato. It's what's the difference between a good motivation and a evil motivation?
Every time you say Lady Potato, I don't know, for some reason, I find it funny.
Yeah, look, I love the name. It's great. It's great. It's a good name. It's a solid name. It's maybe even the best name ever.
Interesting.
But yeah, so it's like you got this how do I put it? You got these villains that they're all fine and dandy and good or evil, not good, but they're all fine, dandy, and evil. And I like to explore what's the difference. And Benefactor and we disagree on this. At least as far as I know, we disagree on this. He likes to make evil characters. He likes to play evil characters. His perspective of evil characters is that, there's essentially no difference between a good and evil character, other than good characters are, I guess, they're like goody two shoes. Like they just have to do everything perfect, and he doesn't think that people are perfect like that. He used the example. He likes the Vegeta character type.
Right.
He looks at someone like Vegeta and says, all right, this is a guy who is bad, but can be given motivation to be good. And that creates a redemption arc. And I see that's a very common theme that he likes as a player. He likes the redemption arc. He likes to take the evil person and bring them back to the light.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I look at it like the difference between good and evil is, what is your default setting? An evil person's default setting is, I'll kick you down the stairs. A good person's setting is, hey, I have an extra sandwich. Do you want it? Like that to me is like a nice dividing line. A good person walking down the stairs behind you, the thought of kicking you down the steps doesn't enter their mind unless it's, oh, I hope I don't hurt that person in front of me. Like that's the good person's default. The bad person's default is, you know what? I should kick this person down the steps.
Oh my God.
Do you think do you disagree? Do you agree? Like, what do you think about that?
I think there's I find your friend, right? What's his name again?
Benefactor.
Yeah,
The
Benefactor. And I feel like there's some truth between what you guys are saying. I wouldn't go too far in either direction, at least when it comes to this topic. Like, cause look, here's how I should say it. I do believe that deep down we have a shit ton of imperfections, and redemption is how we grow. Whether we're good or evil. But I also believe that for some people, based on my previous experiences, there's this innate desire to do something for them. And then there's this other desire to hurt them. And it could be through influences. Some people think it's in genetics. I don't believe that, morality or any of that is purely based on your DNA. I think that's dumb because that goes into the idea that, us as people are like naturally evil. And I'm like, no, that's bullshit. Evil isn't natural. It's formed. But what I'm trying to say is that I feel like there is that innate desire to do things, and we have to fight those demons and temptations. And usually those who can't usually fall into the evil category depending on the situation. So I don't fully agree with you or Benefactor, but I see some kernels in the middle of your arguments.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like you guys should meet each other in the middle there, if that makes any sense. Because I think that's where you'll find the gateway towards all knowledge. Like I told this to Gunner, and he misinterpreted me. I told him there's a duality to everything. And he was like, "Oh, so you're saying there's only two sides of the universe." I'm like, "No, I'm not saying there's only two sides of the universe. You know me. I believe the universe is infinite. I believe there's an omniverse. I believe there's endless reality, endless infinity beyond our comprehension. But many things that exist have a duality. And it's like people that only recognize one side but don't see the other. I'm not saying you have to believe in both. Sorry, I'm not saying you have to believe both are good. I'm just saying people that only acknowledge one side and they don't acknowledge the other, they're blind to certain possibilities. And then when they get tricked, it hurts.
Well, I think in Benefactor's case, I think he understands my perspective.
I think you both understand each other's perspectives.
Yeah,
I do.
I just think we disagree.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't think that's how it is.
Yeah, exactly. You guys disagree.
But I would also say that it's also a preference of play style.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to speak for him because his play style. Like, I'm going to use a Mass Effect analogy. In Mass Effect, there's two alignments. There's Renegade and Paragon. Renegade is evil. Paragon is good. They're just fancy different titles of saying either or. The people who made Mass Effect, if I recall, they're also the same people that made Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars game. So they have a similar light, dark side narrative. And so they basically, in those games, they encourage / incentivize you to pick one side or the other.
Right.
And when I play those games, I don't look for, hey, is this going to give me an advantage? I look for what would my character do that I feel is reasonable to their personality. And sometimes it's the evil or renegade option. And other times it's the Paragon or light side option. It's the good option.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm gaming and I'm trying to do it where it's like, oh, I'm trying to do an achievement, or I'm trying to do a playthrough where I get the most powerful I can be, then I might play for one side over anything else.
Go on.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
my natural inclination is I lean towards the light personally.
Yeah.
You know, I know a lot of people who play games, they like Benefactor is probably one of them. I have a few friends actually, now that I'm thinking about it, who they don't care. Like they're like, oh, it's just a bunch of pixels, so I'm gonna do the evil option. And it's like, okay, you know, you do you. If that's what you want to do. But I guess to me, I prefer the light route. I prefer the good guy route.
Right. No, that makes sense.
So when you play games, do you prefer the good guy route or no?
I tend to prefer the good guy route, but you know, just because the hero's journey is ingrained in my brain. So if I'm playing a game, I tend to lean towards playing heroes and villains. But oftentimes playing the villain can be fun, and sometimes just not even playing the hero or the villain, but just someone in the background or someone that plays a role but not a greater stakes role is interesting as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you think of any villainous characters you have played?
Villainous characters?
Yeah.
I've played some secondary villains before in games. I've never played the main one though.
Okay.
I've played minions and henchmen, you know.
Okay. Have you ever played like a cult fanatic or something like that? A cultist?
I've played a cult fanatic before. I played a cult fanatic before, but usually in the games I've played, there's like someone that's there's a real authority, and the cult fanatic works for them, like a second hand.
So what was your experience with that?
For me, man, I would say that for the most part, I would always try to write in these scenarios where the cult fanatic is either delusional about the situation, like they believe that this is for some greater cause, and the person that they're working for just has, you know, their own agenda, you know, like taking like conquering lands and such, or better yet, just influencing future generations, building an army. And the cult fanatic, you know, is just another example of it, of that plan, and they don't see it. Or often I like playing the idea that the cult fanatic is so fucking ingrained in their insanity that the minute they notice that the person that's working that they're working for doesn't hold to their ideals or their twisted sort of morality, they turn on the authority and become the authority, and turn the whole operation into their own twisted game. But I've done those two scenarios. The more fun one for me is the latter, because it feels like a twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has very Supreme Hydra feel to that.
Yeah.
Where I forget, I'm drawing a blank on how that all went down, but he got backstabbed or betrayed and killed in a mysterious way that no one really knew what happened to him. So that's caused Hydra to go into this whole like internal struggle or civil war, because their leader had been like thrown down a well or something and never seen again. So like everyone was just fighting each other for leadership of Hydra. And that's when you had like the different Hydra divisions. Like you had the Tiger division, you had the, I forget the different divisions, but I remember Tiger division. But you know, you had the different divisions of Hydra, and it's like I said, I'm thinking of that story, Nick Fury story, where they had all collapsed in on each other and had issues with each other.
Mm-hmm. That does sound interesting. Yeah, but anyway, Bats, I gotta run. But it was awesome having you, man. Or no,
All
it
right.
was awesome being on your stream, not having you. See you around, man.
Yeah. All right. Take care, man.
Yeah, you too.
And that was the Batkid. He is an aspiring or amateur film creator. He's working on some projects. I have his Twitter in the description. So if you want to tag him, message him, I'll forewarn you, he has a habit of liking and retweeting everything. So just be prepared. If you message him, he is likely to respond. He's very active and engaging on Twitter. So as you can, if you found him interesting here today, you might want to, poke and prod at him. But yeah, he is a Batman guy just like I am, and he's more into anime and Marvel comics than I am. I'm not that big into Marvel comics, despite what knowledge I have of Marvel. And I'm going to wrap it up here soon, but I do want to talk a little bit more about the cultists, because I love the cultist aspect. And I had this other cult, and in my Fair End Time campaign, this other cult was it was a mutant cult, and the whole gist of it is that the world had entered into the post-apocalyptic era. So it's very post-apocalyptic. Technology is destroyed. Several of the main races are on the brink of extinction, and these humans that were surviving, these like most of the humans were falling victim to mutations, inbreeding, and deformations from their environment. So they would drink from, for example, this one fortress that they had, the players had liberated. They were drinking from a well that was cursed and poisonous, and it was corrupting them and making these guys mad and insane. So that when they met them, the players would try to like negotiate and talk to them, and they would say nothing but gibberish. They couldn't understand. Like, they weren't speaking the same language. So the players were like in a situation where it's like, okay, these are humans, and we don't want to be exterminating humans because they're rare. But on the other hand, these guys are not living. They're not being normal humans. They're savages, and they've been corrupted. They've been tainted by this energy source. So the players were forced to cleanse and kill all of the fanatics. Now, what's also funny, and I think we've talked about this before on stream, is the fanatics, their fortress that they had, once it was liberated, the players decided that they were going to prepare for another attack, because the fanatics have other outposts and other bases. They have a cult leader, who, he's determined to just have supreme rule over the land. He doesn't care who they were or whatever have you, but he was going to have supreme rule. So the players had to prepare the fortress for an attack. And they opted for, all right, we're going to have different plans as to how we're going to defend this base, how we're going to fight back. And they were going to they're going to be like, all right, we're going to have an army of cultists coming to fight us. And they had like dune buggies and things like that. Again, this is like a medieval fantasy. So these guys have dune buggies, and they're in the desert. So their fortress gets attacked by these dune buggies. They manage to repel the invaders. And they end up leaving the fortress they bring some refugees that when they started the campaign, they started out in a refugee camp. They brought the refugees in from their tents in the middle of the desert into the fortress, just so the fortress is manned. They had gone into the well and cleansed it, which that was a whole debacle and endeavor. They cleansed the well, the final boss being a boss I've mentioned before. Some of you may have heard me talk about the Volskargel. He is a very much hated villain or boss that Benefactor and Lady Potato dreaded. My own brother, he was in that game. He dreaded Volskargel. He hated that fight. But as much as their hate is for that fight, there was also some really good experiences and nuggets from it. So if you have a terrible fight or a terrible encounter, don't completely discount the experience. There are plenty of good things that can come out of those fights, plenty of good, interesting dynamics that can come from just rolling with it. And even if your players die, even if you kill your players, you can have a circumstance where, okay, your player's dead, it's a TPK. You can do whatever you want with those players. You can have them, instead of actually dying, they wash ashore or they wake up in a prison cell, whatever. So you can leave that up to interpretation, up to debate for the players to understand or to think about. And then you just do whatever you're going to do. I have this game, this past game I just had this Sunday, Niraj knows. The players are on Kashyyyk, and they're walking through the forest trying to find a Wookiee cub. And they also have several other quests along the way. And they opt to begin picking some flowers to try and complete one of the quests they have. And 2 or 3 players rolled a nat 1, which caused a bunch of animals to spawn, and they had to fight these animals. Or not necessarily fight them, but they had to potentially fight some of these animals. And they underestimated how powerful and deadly these animals are. Now, they did still handle the animals just fine. They did manage to balance it out and hold their own. But the lesson the players got out of the experience was don't pick flowers, because they rolled nat 1s, and that nat 1s spawned creatures. And so they're like, oh, don't pick flowers then. And I'm like, I already told you how to avoid, summoning creatures. You guys are the ones who's ignoring that. But you guys are taking it this idea that oh, walking in grass summons creatures, and picking flowers summons creatures. And it's no, that's not what you got to do. I also roll, for chat's sake, I also roll in secrets. I roll in secrecy, so they don't know what, when I roll on a table for an NPC spawn, they don't know what the result is. Niraj, welcome to Mistinger Hell. I'll be your host. You can call me Ouch. Yes. Niraj's character Shade got jumped by 2 Mistingers, and it was a great entry. Great entry for how I was able to do them. I wanted to make sure their introduction to the fight was well done, because the Mistingers' claim to fame is that first they howl, then they leap, and then you die. Because their whole gimmick is that they're these ape-like demon creatures, and they have a very powerful pounce. And they're also very muscular and strong. And so when we were playing, these guys got to watch them. The Mistingers had 3 attack turns. And so they just swing and swing and swing until you're nothing but pulp on the ground, because these beasts are savage. Now, the other thing I mentioned this before on stream is that Star Wars D&D has something called Vitality, and that's basically like extra hit points. And then you have your wound points, which when you level up, your wound points don't go up unless you put an ability point in your Constitution score. So otherwise, your Vitality is your main source of healing, so to speak. And whenever your Vitality goes down, that's representative of your character dodging, weaving, rolling, and avoiding combat and action. That's the idea. Well, Niraj's character got waylaid by two of these guys, and they pretty much vanquished all of his vitality to the point that he had to fall back. And it's hilarious because I articulated the encounter. I was like, after all the rolls and I saw all the damage they did to him, I didn't know if they dipped into his wound points or not. I figured they might. And I was telling him, I'm like, well, you just got done doing some Indiana Jones maneuvering where you're like rolling and tucking and flipping over. Like you're just bouncing all over the place. You're grabbing sticks and using them to parry. Like you're doing all kinds of things to avoid these beasts punching you and pulverizing you with their fists. So that was some great narration and storytelling that we got to experience. And it was fantastic. Absolutely fun to write some of that stuff. I think I'm going to call it here, though. And I appreciate you guys sticking it out. I appreciate you guys in the future who are listening to this. Make sure you, or if you could, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. And I'd like to get more people in chat so I can be more engaging with the chat. I wish I could be more engaging. But yeah, I do look forward to talking more about cults in the future. I plan to do that. So I don't know how many more of these streams I'll be doing solo. The Benefactor had something to do today, and so he was unavailable. And I think he might be available sometime in early April. So we'll see what I come up with next week. Next week I might do either a Star Wars comic. I'm thinking of a Star Wars comic I might do because I love Star Wars. And I'm also thinking I might, if I have a game this Sunday, I might do a recap. I'm debating if I want to do a recap or read a comic. So I'll keep you guys posted. Or actually, I won't technically keep you posted. You'll find out the day of when I do the stream, but make of that what you will. At any rate, thank you and have a good day, guys.